Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you all about living abroad and 3 different ways that you can do it too. So let's get into it. So the 3 ways are 1, au pairing, 2, studying abroad, and 3, just working abroad. Now, I've done all of these 3 different ways, so I'll give you a little bit of context as to how I did these things and ways that you can also do it yourself. So let's start with the first one. If you haven't heard or know what an au pair is, it's basically like a babysitter that you have usually it's from abroad, and they're usually there to kind of take care of the kids during the summer or I guess during any time of the year, but for an extended amount of time. And they live in the house with the family and eat normally like with the family. And it's kind of just like a live-in babysitter. I think in the US, we would just call it like a live-in nanny. But the other thing is that the au pair doesn't do any of or they shouldn't do any cooking or cleaning, or they're not a maid. They're there to take care of the kids. And so maybe that's kind of a distinction you can think of. Au pairing. I did this in the summer of second year. And this was a really great opportunity. I lived in Spain for 3 months in a town outside of Madrid with the most amazing Spanish family. And it was honestly really just an amazing experience. I had never taken care of kids. I literally had never babysat before. And so the first time was for 3 months in Spain. And I also don't really speak any Spanish, but that was totally fine. The whole point of the au pairship or me au pairing was to help the kids learn a bit of English and just kind of speak it a bit more regularly in the household. So that was not a problem. That was kind of my experience. Really great. Loved it. Highly suggest. Now let's talk about actually how to do it, because I've heard of horror stories and things that have really gone badly with au pairing. And I've also had my own experience, which has been really good. So I want to just kind of talk to you about a few things to look out for and keep in mind if you are interested in au pairing. So first, I found the au pair offer on aupair.com. So I made a profile, and I think the family actually reached out to me because they were really looking into having an au pair that summer. And so what we did was have multiple video calls with me and the family and the kids. And we kind of just said hi and kind of introduced ourselves and just kind of felt it out. And so they said that they would talk to a few more people, and then they got back to me and said that they'd love to have me come. So that was kind of the process of how I actually became the au pair. But as I said, I've also heard of experiences where people have had a really bad time with a bad family. Bad family as in just not a good situation. So I think if you do want to do the au pair route, it's a great opportunity, but you really need to be mindful that it could be good or it could be bad. And the way that you kind of vet the family that you're going to be working with and vet the whole experience altogether, I think that is really crucial in knowing whether it's going to be a good situation or not for yourself. My older sister, she also did an au pair in Japan, and she found it on eBay, which is kind of sketch. And I wouldn't recommend, but the family that she ended up with was actually a really great family and actually quite entrenched in the high society of Japan. So not to say that just because it was on eBay, it's going to be sketch. I think you really just need to understand who you will be working for and who you'll be living with, because that will really determine whether you have a good experience or not. The second option for living abroad is the classic study abroad. So I did this in 2 different ways. One is just the year abroad studying when you're an undergrad. And then the other option is to do a master's or a postgraduate degree abroad as well. So there are 2 different ways that you can study abroad. This route is really good. I highly recommend it. If you are at the age of in university and going to college, I would really, really, really suggest that you take this time, at least a semester. I suggest doing a year, because you get a lot more time to really like ingrain yourself into the culture and into the city. 6 months actually flies by. Usually it's not even 6 months. It's actually more like 3 or 4 months. So that flies by, like, especially when you're moving to a new place. So that's why I would really suggest a full year. But either way, if you can't do the full year, just studying abroad in general, like, highly, highly recommend. And I studied abroad at the University of Amsterdam, which also I really recommend that university for studying abroad, because the International Student Network, that is literally what it's called, they have a really thriving network, and it's really entrenched into the city as well, just being such an international city. With studying abroad, I think it also does depend on the school that you choose. Like, if you do it where it's a program with all the other kids that are studying abroad from your school, that is also going to be a different experience. One of my good friends had that type of situation, and I think it's still great. But if I were you, I would try to go for a school where you are kind of put in with all the other internationals, and you're not just only in the cohort of your school going to that other abroad school. Studying abroad as an undergrad, highly recommend. Like, I really think you can't really go wrong. Like, just because it's such a great learning experience for you as an individual, it's really, truly, like, do it. If you have any questions about it, just let me know. I've loved my experience, so I'm happy to answer anything that you have on that. Okay. Other part to that is, if you've already kind of done your undergrad, but maybe you're thinking about doing a master's, that is a really great opportunity to do a master's abroad as well. Usually master's is, shorter, like 1 or 2 years. And so it's a great way to get that time abroad and then kind of feel it out after that. So I decided to do my master's again at the University of Amsterdam because I had such a great time. And so, yeah, like, that school is really, really great. Now, I had a more difficult time, like, doing the program. I think the program that you choose is really important when you choose your master's. So that was not great for me. But aside from that, the living abroad part was phenomenal. All right, third and final option for today's video is working abroad. So if you want to work abroad, do it. Like, I think it's a great way, just like the other opportunities. I think living abroad is just a phenomenal thing that you can do for yourself. But working abroad in Europe is a little bit harder. Actually, nowadays, I honestly think it's just hard anywhere. So I don't know if it's really harder than working abroad in, any other country. But it is to note that countries these days are leaning away from being open to sponsorship. So I think it is getting a bit harder just because of the political climate. But if you are able to do it, really, I suggest you do it. So for me, I am now living in London on a work visa. I originally was able to move here on something called the High Potential Individual Visa, which I have another video on. And I will make another video about how that is changing given the political situation in the UK. But yeah, working abroad, basically, it's hard because, one, you have to get a new job. Like, that's always hard no matter what. And then 2, you have to get the visa and the sponsorship from the company. So that's why, if you can, be able to get a visa that allows you to just live in the country first and not be tied to the job, that is a great way to, like, get your foot in the door and then get a job. And that's what I did. So with the High Potential Individual Visa, you can get the visa, and that gives you 2 years to just live in the country and then look for a job, and you're not tied to a specific workplace. And so I got that visa, and then I applied. Well, I kind of did them at the same time, actually, but I knew that I could get this visa. So then I started applying for jobs in the UK. I got the job that I'm in now. And after 6 months, then they kind of transitioned me onto a work visa. So now I'm on just a classic, like, work sponsorship. after the second year, when my visa runs out, then I'll be on a permanent contract with a work visa. So again, I think it is quite hard to just like be living in a different country, apply for a job, and expect them to just sponsor you right away. And the reason being is that it's an extra cost. I think in the UK for the work visa, it's like a few thousand per person. So it's not like insanely huge amount, but it is extra money. Like it is extra thousands of dollars that a company would have to pay specifically for you, and not, and they wouldn't have to pay that for a domestic worker. So yeah, I think in that way, like you do have to be you have to qualify for the job, and that makes it harder to get that type of visa. So just straight off. So I really would suggest trying to find a country that has some type of visa that allows you to go to the country first, and then you can apply and get a job. So that's the work visa. Again, if you have any questions on how that's structured or how to do that, let me know. I'm kind of going through it myself, so I'm happy to be a resource or just kind of talk through things. So let me know in the comments. And that's it for today. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching the video. Just a little recap, there's 3 ways that I was able to live and work abroad. And that means that there's 3 ways for you to do it too. First is au pairing. Studying abroad is a really great one. And then working abroad is another classic one. So those are your 3 options, at least that I know of. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and thanks for watching.